All right, y'all. Time to study Genesis starting at chapter 41. Last Friday we covered, let's see, I believe it was chapter 31 all the way to chapter 40. So here we go. Give me 1 second just to fire up so I can make sure the stream is going well. Just give me 1 second. All right. Looking good on my end. All right. And here we go. All right. After 2 whole years, Pharaoh dreamed that he was standing by the Nile. Just a little, just a little backup, so if anybody's like joining out of the blue. Currently Joseph, he got uh basically sold into slavery by his brothers. Um, and right now he is in prison essentially, and he is basically he's finding favor with anybody that is around him essentially, just slowly but surely, somewhat by just being very effective at managing other people's work, making sure things run smoothly. And now it's coming to pass that people are starting to understand that he has a gift for the interpretation of dreams. So here we go. Hence why you will see Joseph interprets Pharaoh's dreams. All right. Pharaoh dreamed that he was standing by the Nile, and behold, there came up out of the Nile 7 cows, attractive and plump, and they fed in the reed grass. And behold, 7 other cows, ugly and thin, came up out of the Nile after them, and stood by the other cows on the bank of the Nile. And the ugly, thin cows ate up the 7 attractive, plump cows, and Pharaoh awoke. And he fell asleep and dreamed a second time. And behold, 7 ears of grain, plump and good, were growing on one stalk. And behold, after them sprouted seven ears, thin and blighted by the east wind. And the thin ears swallowed up the 7 plump, full ears. And Pharaoh woke, and behold, excuse me, it was a dream. So in the morning, his spirit was troubled, and he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all its wise men. Pharaoh told them his dreams, but there was none who could interpret them to Pharaoh. Then the chief cupbearer said to Pharaoh, I remember my offenses today. When Pharaoh was angry and his servants put me and the chief baker in custody in the house of the captain of the guard, we dreamed on the same night, he and I, each having a dream with its own interpretation. A young Hebrew was there with us, a servant of the captain of the guard. When we told him, he interpreted our dreams to us, giving an interpretation to each man according to his dream. And as he interpreted to us, so it came about. I was restored to my office, and the baker was hanged. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they quickly brought him out of the pit. And when he had shaved himself and changed his clothes, he came in before Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, I have had a dream, and there is no one who can interpret it. I have heard it said of you that when you hear a dream, you can interpret it. Joseph answered Pharaoh, It is not in me. God will give Pharaoh a favorable answer. So I guess he's basically saying, it's not me, I'm hearing this from God, I believe. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, Behold, in my dream I was standing on the banks of the Nile. 7 cows, plump and attractive, came out of the Nile and fed in the reed grass. So 7 other cows came up after them, poor and very ugly and thin. such as I had never seen in all the land of Egypt. And the thin, ugly cows ate up the first 7 plump cows. But when they had eaten them, no one would have known that they had eaten them, for they were still as ugly as at the beginning. Then I awoke. I also saw in my dream 7 ears growing on one stalk, full and good. 7 ears, withered, thin, and blighted by the east wind, sprouted after them. And the thin ears swallowed up the 7 good ears. And I told it to the magicians, but there was no one who could explain it to me. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, "The dreams of Pharaoh are one. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dreams are one. The 7 lean and ugly cows that came up after them are 7 years, and the 7 empty ears blighted by the east wind are also 7 years of famine. It is as I told Pharaoh. God has shown to Pharaoh what he is about to do. There will come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt. But after them there will arise 7 years of famine, and all the plenty will be forgotten in the land of Egypt. The famine will consume the land, and the plenty will be unknown in the land by reason of the famine that will follow, for it will be very severe. And the doubling of Pharaoh's dreams means that the thing is fixed by God, and God will shortly bring it about. Now, therefore, let Pharaoh select a discerning and wise man, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh proceed to appoint overseers over the land, and take 1/5 of the produce of the land of Egypt during the 7 plentiful years. And let them gather all the food of these good years that are coming, and store up grain under the authority of Pharaoh for food in the cities, and let them keep it. The food shall be a reserve for the land against the 7 years of famine that are to occur in the land of Egypt, so that the land may not perish through the famine. This proposal pleased Pharaoh and all his servants. And Pharaoh said to his servants, "Can we find a man like this, in whom is the Spirit of God?" Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Since God has shown you all this, there is none so discerning and wise as you are. You shall be over my house, and all my people shall order themselves as you command. Only as regards the throne will I be greater than you." And Pharaoh said to Joseph, "See, I have set you over all the land of Egypt." Then Pharaoh took his signet ring from his hand and put it on Joseph's hand, and clothed him in garments of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. And he made him ride in his second chariot, and they called out before him, "Bow and kneel, bow the knee." Thus he set him over all the land of Egypt. Moreover, Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I am Pharaoh, and without your consent no one shall lift up hand or foot in all the land of Egypt." And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zephanath Paneah, and he gave him in marriage Asenath, the daughter of Potipherah, priest of On. So Joseph went out over the land of Egypt. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went through all the land of Egypt. During the 7 plentiful years, the earth produced abundantly. And he gathered up all the food of these 7 years, which occurred in the land of Egypt, and put the food in the cities. He put in every city the food from the fields around it. And Joseph stored up grain in great abundance, like the sand of the sea, until he ceased to measure it, for it could not be measured. Before the year of famine came, two sons were born to Joseph. Asenath, the daughter of Potipherah, priest of On, bore them to him. Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh. Manasseh? Manasseh. For, he said, God has made me forget all my hardship and all my father's house. The name of the second he called Ephraim, for God has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. Let's see if there's anything. Sounds like the Hebrew for making to forget, for making fruitful. Okay. The 7 years of plenty that occurred in the land of Egypt came to an end, and the 7 years of famine began to come, as Joseph had said. There was famine in all lands, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread. When all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. Pharaoh said to all the Egyptians, "Go to Joseph. What he says to you, do." So when the famine had spread over all the land, Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold to the Egyptians, for the famine was severe in the land of Egypt. Moreover, all the earth came to Egypt to Joseph to buy grain, because the famine was severe over all the earth, at least the known earth. As you do. All right, let's see what we can garnish from this. Okay. So, Pharaoh dreams, and the cupbearer finally comes through, because on the previous chapter, might have been either chapter 40. Yeah, it was in the previous chapter. Joseph was like, "Please speak well of me to Pharaoh," because Joseph was like, "It's probably my only way out of this dungeon of being in the pit." And the cupbearer apparently uh forgot to mention anything about it until this moment, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Joseph." Joseph was like, "Yo, please speak favorably of me to Pharaoh so I can get out of here." And now that he hears that the Pharaoh has this dream, he's like, "I remember." Hence why he says like, "I remember my offenses today," because he probably agreed to Joseph. "I will speak favorably of you." And he's like, "Shoot!" So he finally comes through. Seems like Pharaoh's a pretty level-headed kind of guy, because, well, he did hang his that one dude, but maybe he deserved it. Who knows? Who did he hang? The bread maker? I don't know. But anyway, yes, the baker was hanged. Who knows if it was justified? But Pharaoh seems to be, at least he has certain moments of clarity, putting Joseph in charge and realizing that he's the right guy for the job. All right. Let's see. Um, mhm. Just like, all right. All right. Let's see. It's interesting that it's like Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold to the Egyptians. So I guess, yeah, I mean, you still got to compensate, like, you know. Shows that their system definitely wasn't a like obviously I'm pretty sure at certain points, at least in Egypt's history, there were points where like every worker got like a stipend or like a very specific amount every day. But Egypt was around for so long, you can't just take, I mean, you're looking at 1,000 years. Just think how many different laws and ways of distributing um, just grain in general could have, just different methods and throughout its history could have occurred. Just because you have one moment where it's clear that they were doing it one way doesn't mean that they did it that just, oh, that's how it was for 1,000 years because we have one passage at one point in time where they did it one specific way. So it's interesting. I mean, maybe, it's probably different for different classes, I mean, maybe the workers, maybe that was standard for workers, but clearly showing that it was sold to the Egyptians. Maybe it was like, if you were an artisan, then you have like, artisan and craftsman, then you got like your merchants, then you got like your, different tiers probably had to go through different um, ways of obtaining their grain, you know. Which seems, kind of common or typical, I would say, of many societies. All right. All right. So, which, we'll see in the next chapter, but potentially this could definitely make Joseph quite wealthy on his own if he is receiving. I mean, unless he's selling in, I mean, we'll probably see in the next chapter if this is going to his pockets or if it's something where he sold like he is the one in charge of selling, but it's more like the money is going to the crown, going to Pharaoh, what have you. Okay, here it came to. The other thing it shows is that Joseph was the right person for the job from what we can tell so far. Seems like, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread. Mhm. see. Yeah, we don't get a notation on what that means exactly. I wonder if it's understood. I'm sure there's some understanding out there if we looked it up. I'll just make a notation. All right. All right, I think we're good here. All right, let's keep rolling. Chapter 42. When Jacob learned that uh, there was grain for sale in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why do you look at one another?" And he said, "Behold, I have heard that there is grain for sale in Egypt. Go down and buy grain for us there, that we may live and not die." So 10 of Joseph's brothers went down to buy grain in Egypt. But Jacob did not send Benjamin, Joseph's brother, with his brothers, for he feared that harm might happen to him. Why would Benjamin? Interesting. Thus the sons of Israel came to buy among the others who came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. Now Joseph was governor over the land. He was the one who sold to all the people of the land, and Joseph's brothers came and bowed themselves before him with their faces to the ground. Joseph saw his brothers and recognized them, but he treated them like strangers and spoke roughly to them. "Where do you come from?" he said. They said, "From the land of Canaan, to buy food." And Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. It's probably in all the Egyptian garb with the makeup and everything, you know what I mean? And Joseph remembered the dreams that he had dreamed of them. And he said to them, "You are spies. You have come to see the nakedness of the land." The nakedness. They said to him, "No, my lord, your servants have come to buy food. We are all sons of one man. We are honest men. Your servants have never been spies." He said to them, "No, it is the nakedness of the land that you have come to see." I wonder what that means exactly. We'll ponder it later. And they said, "We, your servants, are 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And behold, the youngest is this day with our father, and one is no more." But Joseph said to them, "It is as I said to you, you are spies. By this you shall be tested, by the life of Pharaoh. You shall not go from this place unless your youngest brother comes here. Send one of you, and let him bring your brother, while you remain confined, that your words may be tested, whether there is truth in you. Or else, by the life of Pharaoh, surely you are spies." And he put them all together in custody for 3 days. Putting them through the ringer, man. Understandably so. Understandably so. On the 3rd day, Joseph said to them, "Do this and you will live, for I fear God. If you are honest men, let one of your brothers remain confined where you are in custody, and let the rest go and carry grain for the famine of your households, and bring your youngest brother to me. So your words will be verified, and you shall not die. And they did so. Then they said to one another, in truth, we are guilty concerning our brother, in that we saw the distress of his soul when he begged us, and we did not listen. That is why this distress has come upon us. And Reuben answered them, did I not tell you not to sin against the boy? But you did not listen. So now there comes a reckoning for his blood. They did not know that Joseph understood them, for there was an interpreter between them. Ah, ha, ha. Ooh, that does bring a wrinkle into it. Because, yeah, Joseph's probably speaking fluent Egyptian at this point, and they don't realize that he knows the language that they're speaking. So they're speaking openly in front of him, and he can hear it, them sort of talking amongst themselves in a language that, yeah, I got you. Then he turned away from them and wept. They did not know. And he returned to them and spoke to them. And he took Simeon from them and bound him before their eyes. And Joseph gave orders to fill their bags with grain, and to replace every man's money in his sack, and to give them provisions for the journey. This was done for them. Then they loaded their donkeys with their grain and departed. And as one of them opened his sack to give his donkey fodder at the lodging place, he saw his money in the mouth of his sack. He said to his brothers, my money has been put back. Here it is in the mouth of my sack. At this their hearts failed them, and they turned trembling to one another, saying, what is this that God has done to us? Because they're gonna think we stole this. Holy crap, they're gonna think we stole this money. And as soon as they realize it, we're dead men. When they came to Jacob, their father in the land of Canaan, they told him all that had happened to them, saying, the man, the Lord of the land, spoke roughly to us and took us to be spies of the land. But we said to him, we are honest men. We have never been spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of our father. One is no more. The youngest is this day with our father in the land of Canaan. Then the man, the Lord of the land, said to us, by this I shall know that you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers with me, and take grain for the famine of your households, and go your way. Bring your youngest brother to me. Then I shall know that you are not spies, but honest men, and I will deliver your brother to you, and you shall trade in the land. As they emptied their sacks, behold, every man's bundle of money was in his sack. And when they and their father saw their bundles of money, they were afraid. And Jacob their father said to them, you have bereaved me of my children. Jacob their father said to them, you have bereaved me of my children. Joseph is no more, and Simeon is no more. And now you would take Benjamin. All this has come against me. Then Reuben said to his father, kill my 2 sons if I do not bring him back to you. Put him in my hands, and I will bring him back to you. But he said, my son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he is the only one left. If harm should happen to him on the journey that you are to make, you would bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to Sheol. Interesting. I'm not entirely sure. I think I need to look up what Sheol. I know I've mentioned it multiple times, but I haven't been able to grasp the context of it. I haven't really looked into it, to be honest. I'm just going with the flow. All right, let's see what we have here. Oh, goodness. Well, we are honest men. That probably wasn't the right thing to say to Joseph. Oh, are you now? Are you? Honest men, you say? Oh, that probably was not the right thing to say to Joseph. Mhm. What's interesting is that it's a little worded kind of funkily. Um, Send one of you and let him bring your brother. It's almost like he kind of changed what he was gonna do. At first he says, like, send one of you to go bring the younger brother back, but then eventually he keeps one of them, and the rest go back to bring the younger brother. Unless in that moment they did send one of them, and then he kept the rest, and then he kept another, something like that. I don't know. He put them all together in custody for 3 days. Yeah. Maybe he sent one back early. Um, or maybe he changed his mind. All right. Damn. I'm sure that that kind of touched in that, like, oh, Ruben was like trying to convince them otherwise. Maybe he didn't know that beforehand, and that kind of like, you know, like at least one of my brothers was trying to like, convince the rest not to do harm upon me. Yeah. Hmm. Forget which one is like who in the line is Simeon, like where he's at in the hierarchy. It's interesting that he had their money given back. Maybe this is the next, maybe it's another test. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at this as like, uh, Let's see. All right. And the man, Lord of the land, said to us, da, da, da. All right. Bring your youngest brother to me, then I shall know that you are not spies, but honest men. Sex, behold, da, da, da. Jacob, their father, said, you have bereaved me of my children. All right, now you would take Benjamin. All this has come against me. At least Reuben's ready to, like, step up. You know what I mean? Reuben seems to be a decent dude. It's, it's a little funky. Like, dude, you got plenty of other sons. What's so special about Benjamin? You know? Like, where was it? Yeah, but Jacob did not send Benjamin, Joseph's brother, with his brothers, for he feared that harm might happen to him. The the baby boy, he's just a baby. I don't know how old Benjamin is. I mean, maybe he's really young and like, feared that, who knows? What if he's like under the age of 12? You're not gonna send him on a journey that like, you know, during famines, things might get a little crazy, you know? A bunch of desperate people see a group of travelers with a bunch of grain, or money. That's not the most careful situation. So maybe Benjamin's fairly young, but then again, I don't know. I don't know. Hard to say. But that could be the case where Benjamin just isn't fit for this kind of journey. I mean, he feared that harm might happen to him. And worst comes to worst, if he sends all of his elder brothers out there and say something bad does happen to them, like they get attacked by bandits or what have you, at least he still has one son left, you know. Agreed, it sounds like he already has grandchildren, so it's like, well, I mean, your line seems to be fairly secured. Um, I kind of get why you don't. I don't know. It's interesting. For whatever reason, I don't. To me, it's not at this point in time. It's not exactly clear why Jacob is being, in my opinion, overly protective of Benjamin. For it could be the only other son from I forget which which wife she comes from. Um, for his brother is dead. Is Benjamin like the only other brother to Joseph? Is that what's going on here? Like, you know, other ones are half brothers. He's like the main brother, for his brother is dead, and he's the only one left. So it could be that Benjamin's mother is probably the one. Um, Probably because yeah, if I had to guess, now I'm sort of like trying to connect the dots here. It is most likely their mother that probably is and Jacob's on board with this. Jacob's like, yes, I agree. I'm not gonna, you only have one son left. I'm not gonna put him in harm's way. And probably also why Joseph wants to see his other like blood brother. You know what I mean? Because all the other brothers are like half brothers. Unless I'm crazy. I'm gonna hold on. I'm actually gonna flip back and remind myself if that is the case. What are dreams? Mm, let's rewind. Esau. Okay. Let's see if we can find this. Um, yeah, so Rachel died giving birth to Benjamin. Hmm. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Sons of Leah. Ah, here we go, yeah. So that is correct. Because Rachel was like barren for quite some time, and then she was only able to have two sons, Benjamin being the youngest, or the younger, but I believe potentially the youngest as well. Because I'm pretty sure all these others, um, like her, and Leah, were all capable of giving birth much earlier than Rachel. So Rachel had like the last two sons that were born to Jacob. Yeah. And now that Rachel is gone, it's almost like the one son of the love because Rachel is like the love of like Jacob loved Rachel far more than he loved Leah or the other two ladies. So it's also kind of like, probably kind of like reminds him of you know, his main love. So I can see why he's also being more protective, and hence why Joseph wants to see Benjamin. It's probably also the case. So I don't think Benjamin was in on the whole selling Joseph off. I don't think so, from what I can understand. So, right. Rachel died in childbirth, so it's not, she wouldn't be I mean, she's probably influencing Jacob from the grave in some manner, but not because she's actually, right, she's not alive anymore. Right. Good. We're refreshing our memory here. Right. Mhm. All right. Glad I went back to just clarify that. Mm, okay. Okay. That all checks out. Mm, like Benjamin. Mm, all right. Let's keep rolling here. All right, chapter 43. Now the famine was severe in the land, and when they had eaten the grain that they had brought from Egypt, their father said to them, "Go again, buy us a little food." Oh wow, so, like who knows how long it's been? If they ate all the grain, what maybe that was like 3 months worth of food, maybe more. You know, maybe only a month. I don't know. So right now Simeon is, I mean, Jacob kind of like left Simeon out to dry. Even Reuben was willing to like go back and try to you know get Simeon back, but Jacob was like, nay, 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 nay. But Judah said to him, the man solemnly warned us, saying, you shall not see my face unless your brother is with you. If you will send our brother with us, we will go down and buy you food. But if you will not send him, we will not go down. For the man said to us, you shall not see my face unless your brother is with you. That'd be a death sentence for them to go. Israel said, aka Jacob, why did you treat me so badly as to tell the man that you had another brother? Well, they were trying to be honest, okay? Like they're just being honest. They didn't realize that that would be a point of contention. They replied, the man questioned us carefully about ourselves and our kindred, saying, is your father still alive? Do you have another brother? What we told him was an answer to these questions. Could we in any way know that he would say, bring your brother down? Yeah, it's like, come on, man. Like, they couldn't have known. Judah said to Israel's father, send the boy with me, and we will arise and go, that we may live and not die, both we and you, and also our little ones. I will I will be a pledge of his safety. From my hand you shall require him. Reacquire? Yeah, require him. If I do not bring him back to you and set him before you, then let me bear the blame forever. If we had not delayed, we would now have returned twice. Yeah, it's like, dude, like, we still need food. Then their father Israel said to them, if it must be so, then do this. Take some of the choice fruits of the land in your bags, and carry a present down to the man, a little balm and a little honey, gum, myrrh, pistachio nuts, and almonds. Take double the money with you. Carry back with you the money that was returned in the mouth of your sacks. Perhaps it was an oversight. Take also your brother. Arise, go again to the man. May God Almighty grant you mercy before the man, and may he send back your other brother and Benjamin. And as for me, if I am bereaved of my children, I am bereaved." So the men took his present, and they took double the money with them, and Benjamin. They arose and went down to Egypt and stood before Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the steward of his house, "Bring the men into the house, and slaughter an animal and make ready, for the men are to dine with me at noon." Oh, it's nice of Joseph so far. We'll see. The men did as Joseph told them and brought the men to Joseph's house. And the men were afraid because they were brought to Joseph's house. And they said, "It is because of the money which was replaced in our sacks the first time that we are brought in, so that he may assault us and fall upon us to make us servants and seize our donkeys." So they went up to the steward of Joseph's house and spoke with him at the door of the house, and said, "O my lord, we came down to the first time to buy food. And when we came to the lodging place, we opened our sacks, and there was each man's money in the mouth of his sack, our money in full weight. So we have brought it again with us, and we have brought other money down with us to buy food. We do not know who put our money in our sacks." He replied, "Peace be with you. Do not be afraid. Your God and the God of your father has put treasure in your sacks for you. I received your money." Then he brought Simeon out to them. And when the man had brought to the men into Joseph's house and given them water, and they had washed their feet, and when he had given their donkeys fodder, they prepared the present for Joseph's coming at noon. And they heard that they should eat bread there. When Joseph came home, they brought into the house to him the present that they had with them, and bowed down to him to the ground. And he inquired about their welfare, and said, "Is your father well? The old man of whom you spoke, is he still alive?" They said, "Your servant our father is well. He is still alive." And they bowed their heads and prostrated themselves. And he lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, "Is this your youngest brother, of whom you spoke to me? God be gracious to you, my son." Then Joseph hurried out, for his compassion grew warm for his brother, and he sought a place to weep. And he entered his chamber and wept there. Then he washed his face and came out, and controlling himself, he said, "Serve the food." They served him by himself, and them by themselves, and the Egyptians who ate with him by themselves, because the Egyptians could not eat with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination to the Egyptians. And they sat before him, the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men looked at one another in amazement. Portions were taken to them from Joseph's table, but Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as any of theirs, and they drank and were merry with him. Became intoxicated, were merry. They enjoyed the feast and the wine, and presumably probably beer too. All right. All right, so it looks like Judah is the one to at least make the final push for Jacob/Israel to allow them to head down. All right. Well, at least Judah convinced him to send Benjamin. Yeah, because I mean, Judah, um, you know, Israel was like, yeah, go buy us some more food. And then Judah's like, yo, we need Benjamin or else we're dead men. Alright. This portion here is curious. They served him by himself and them by themselves. I guess that probably means that like a separate table, but it sounds like it's in the same room, just like the tables or place settings had to be separate. So he probably had his own like little place setting for him, like his own little table or what have you. And the Egyptians had their own table. And then, but it sounds like they're probably in the same room, you know. The Egyptians who ate with. So it sounds like potentially Joseph, due to be giving an Egyptian name by the Pharaoh, is kind of like an honorary Egyptian essentially. Um, he's been probably wearing all the garb and everything like that for, 14 well, at least, I mean, we're getting into the famine, so at least 7 years. Um, because the famine isn't done yet. Who knows where we are in the famine? Um, so at least 7 years, and due to the fact that he was given like an Egyptian name, he's probably just sort of considered an Egyptian at this point. Because it says, and the Egyptians who ate with him by themselves. Could not you the abomination? Or it could have been, again, it could go back to Joseph has his own table for himself. The Egyptians have their table, and then the Hebrews have their table, you know. Again, does sound like it's all taking place like in the same room. Because they sat before him. Yeah. Mhm. All right. I like how he gives like I wonder what his brothers were thinking when he gave Benjamin 5 times anybody else. I wonder what was going through their minds. I wonder if that was like a little like something maybe one of them maybe picked up like that's really what? Okay, maybe this is some Egyptian custom we don't fully understand yet. You know what I mean? What's going on here? I do, you know, I like that little detail though. It's interesting. All right, I'm gonna take a cigarette break, and we will be back in, 5 minutes. All right, and we'll be starting up with chapter 44. Joseph tests his brothers. Ooh, sounds like a good time. I took a little sneak peek, a little my Bible. We're 50 chapters in Genesis, so we're getting close to finishing up Genesis here. All right. Oh, Lordy be. All right. Where's that sound coming from? Heck was that? Oh, thump, 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 thump. Probably coming from outside. I really need to get. Tonight I'm ordering a proper mic so I can filter out these external sounds more appropriately so they don't make it into the video. Even if I'm not seeing that it's reading in the audio, I can hear it. So I guess maybe it's not terrible. Just a little obnoxious for me sometimes, and maybe it'll make it into this audio. We'll see. Anyway, stay focused. Lochin. Let's ride. All right, chapter 44. Then he commanded the steward of his house, fill the men's sacks with food, as much as they can carry, and put each man's money in the mouth of his sack. Has he not revealed that hold on. Has he been using an interpreter this entire time? Like during the whole dinner? Like he's just been putting up this facade, this charade that he's just an Egyptian. He doesn't know their language. He's using like an interpreter the entire time to speak with them. Um oh, this is very amusing. All right. As much as they can carry, and put each man's money in the mouth of his sack, and put my cup, the silver cup, in the mouth of the sack of the youngest, and his money for the grain. And he did as Joseph told him. As soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away with their donkeys. They had gone only a short distance from the city. Now Joseph said to his steward, Up, follow after the men, and when you overtake them, say to them, Why have you repaid evil for good? Oh no! Joseph, why are you gosh, you're messing with them so which I get it, but like you could just why are you doing it? He's just messing with them so hard. I get it. At the same time, it feels like this could be it might feel a little unnecessary in my opinion, but you do you, boo. Ah, why have you repaid evil for good? Is it not from this that my Lord drinks, and by this that he practices divination? You have done evil in doing this. When he overtook them, he spoke to them these words. They said to him, Why does my Lord speak such words as these? Far be it from your servants to do such a thing. Behold, the money that we found in the mouths of our sacks we brought back to you from the land of Canaan. How then could we steal silver or gold from your Lord's house? Whichever of your servants is found with it shall die, and we also will be my Lord's servants. He said, Let it be as you say. He who is found with it shall be my servant, and the rest of you shall be innocent. Then each man quickly lowered his sack to the ground, and each man opened his sack. And he searched, beginning with the eldest and ending with the youngest. And the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. And they tore their clothes, and every man loaded his donkey, and they returned to the city. When Judah and his brothers came to Joseph's house, he was still there. They fell before him to the ground. Joseph said to them, What deed is that you what deed is this that you have done? Do you not know that a man like me can indeed practice divination?" And Judah said, "What shall we say to my lord? What shall we speak? Or how can we clear ourselves? God has found out the guilty of your servants. Behold, we are my lord's servants, both we and he also in whose hand the cup has been found." But he said, "Far be it from me that I should do so. Only the man in whose hand the cup was found shall be my servant. But as for you, go up in peace to your father." And then Judah up, went. Then Judah went up to him and said, "Oh, my lord, please let your servant speak a word to my lord's ears, and let not your anger burn against your servant, for you are like Pharaoh himself. My lord asked his servants, saying, Have you a father or a brother? And we said to my lord, We have a father, an old man, and a young brother, the child of his old age. His brother is dead, and he alone is left of his mother's children, and his father loves him. Then you said to your servants, Bring him down to me, that I may set eyes on him. We said to my lord, The boy cannot leave his father, for if he should leave his father would die. Then you said to your servants, Unless your youngest brother comes down with you, you shall not see my face again. When we went back to your servant, my father, we told him the words of my lord. And when our father said, Go again, buy us a little food, we said, We cannot go down. If our youngest brother goes with us, then we will go down. For we cannot see the man's face unless our youngest brother is with us. Then your servant, my father, said to us, You know that my wife bore me 2 sons. One left me, and I said, Surely he has been torn to pieces, and I have never seen him since. If you take this one also from me, and harm happens to him, you will bring down my gray hairs in evil to Sheol. Now therefore, as soon as I come to your servant my father, and the boy is not with us, then, as his life is bound up in the boy's life, as soon as he sees the boy is not with us, he will die. And your servants will bring down the gray hairs of your servant, our father, with sorrow to Sheol. For your servant became a pledge of safety for the boy to my father, saying, If I do not bring him back to you, then I shall bear the blame before my father all my life. Now therefore, please let your servant remain instead of the boy as a servant to my lord, and let the boy go back with his brothers. For how can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? I fear to see the evil that would find my father. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Hmm, hmm. What exactly is Joseph playing at here? Like, this all seems quite elaborate. I'm sure in the next chapter we'll get some clarity, because it kind of ends with before we get Joseph's response. Hmm. Curious, very curious indeed. Yeah, this is all very like quite elaborate coming from Joseph. Again, servant is also seems to be commonly used. It basically means slave, from what I can tell. It's like a kinder way. You are my servant, as in you will serve me until you die. You are my servant. But what's also interesting is that word, as far as the ESV, English Standard Version, is concerned. We will be my Lord. Servant is used in many different way. It seems to be kind of an overarching term, where in some points it seems to mean, serve for life, which, it's like just another position, maybe they do, maybe it's not quite a slave, but it does seem like there isn't necessarily like they're very much beholden to their master in a way that a slave might be. So it's sort of like, because even it's sort of like my lord asks his servants, you know, even they are like, we are your servants, like you are in charge, we are beholden to you. We will do as you say. Servant, subject, what have you. Hmm. Yeah, I basically just wrote down Joseph deceives his brothers and places his silver cup into Benjamin's bag secretly. He then has his people go out and arrest Benjamin, and Judah pleads for Benjamin's life, offering himself as payment for Benjamin's transgressions. I mean, that's really, I don't know if there's anything more to really garnish from this. All right, let's keep rolling, just because it's sort of like, okay, like, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. And Joseph is like well aware of how distressing this is going to be for them. So he's just putting them through the ringer. Putting them through the ringer. Which again, they kind of earned it. But he's just stringing them along over and over, just stringing them along. I mean, talk about making a point. You know what I mean? All right, here we go. Joseph provides for his brothers and family. All right, they still haven't figured out that it's Joseph. They still have not figured it out. I mean, he really, he's got some acting chops, let me tell you. I mean, even Benjamin hasn't recognized that his brother yet. You know what I mean? Like, if anybody might recognize. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Then Joseph could not control himself before all those who stood by him. He cried, "Make everyone go out from me." So no one stayed with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. And he wept aloud so that the Egyptians heard it, and the household of Pharaoh heard it. And Joseph, so he finally caved. Okay. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? But his brothers could not answer them, for they were dismayed at his presence. Probably spoke to them like he finally broke character and said it to them in, in their language, and it was like they were probably just like, huh? So Joseph said to his brothers, come near to me, please. And they came near, and he said, I am your brother, Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life. For the famine has been in the land these 2 years, and there are yet 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. And God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on earth, and to keep you alive for you many survivors. So it was not you who sent me here, but God. He made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and ruler over all the land of Egypt. He has made me a father to Pharaoh. Interesting wording. I'll have to check the NIV to see how they translate that. Hurry and go up to my father and say to him, thus says your son Joseph, God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, do not tarry. You shall dwell in the land of Goshen, and you shall be near me, you and your children and your children's children, and your flocks, your herds, and all that you have. There I will provide for you, for there are yet 5 years of famine to come, so that you and your household and all that you have do not come to poverty. And now your eyes see, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin see, that it is my mouth that speaks to you. You must tell my father of all my honor in Egypt, and of all that you have seen. Hurry and bring my father down here. Then he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept upon his neck, and he kissed all his brothers and wept upon them. After that his brothers talked with him. When the report was heard in Pharaoh's house, Joseph's brothers have come, it pleased Pharaoh and his servants. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, say to your brothers, do this, load your beasts and go back to the land of Canaan, and take your father and your households, and come to me, and I will give you the best land of Egypt, and you shall eat the fat of the land. You and Joseph are commanded to say, do this, take wagons from the land of Egypt for your little ones and for your wives, and bring your father and come. Have no concern for your goods, for the best of all the land of Egypt is yours. So Pharaoh seems like a decent dude, seems all right. The sons of Israel did so, and Joseph gave them wagons according to the command of Pharaoh, and gave them provisions for the journey. To each and all of them he gave a change of clothes, but to Benjamin he gave 300 shekels of silver and 5 changes of clothes. To his father he sent as follows: 10 donkeys loaded with the good things of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain, bread, and provision for his father on the journey. Then he sent his brothers away, and as they departed, he said to them, do not quarrel on the way. So they went up out of Egypt and came to the land of Canaan to their father Jacob. And they told him, Joseph is still alive, and he is ruler over all the land of Egypt. And his heart became numb, for he did not believe them. But when they told him all the words of Joseph, which he had said to them. And when he saw the wagons that Joseph had sent to him, the spirit of their father Jacob revived, and Israel said, "It is enough. Joseph, my son, is still alive. I will go and see him before I die." Hooray! Phantasmic. All right. A little sippy poo. Yeah, it's interesting. I was like, how long is this charade? He's it's interesting they just he couldn't hold it up. I mean, good. It was getting so elaborate. Like, how long are you gonna keep this up? You know what I mean? Glad he finally broke it here, because it was getting kind of ridiculous. All right. All right. Joseph reveals himself to his brothers and drops his facade. Woohoo! All right. I bet they were so they probably felt like just so. I'd feel kind of dumb myself, like I didn't even like completely fooled me. Like, how did we feasted with this dude? But the whole time he's like speaking Egyptian. He's dressed in all the Egyptian garb, you know, again, probably with the makeup and everything, like, you know, they hadn't seen him in what, maybe 8, 9, 10 years, something like that. Which isn't that long. It's not like it's been like 40 years and he's like, maybe looks completely different. Generally, 10 years isn't that long to make somebody look unlike themselves, especially from like 20 to 30 or even 20 to 32. But it is kind of long enough, especially, again, they are convinced beyond a doubt that they are, there's, Joseph might be somewhere in Egypt as a slave, you know, but not at, there's no way he's the governor of all Egypt. All right. Joseph and Pharaoh give Joseph's family the best land in Egypt. I wonder how many conversations, because it seems like Pharaoh and Joseph are pretty close. Like, my guess is like they know he's a Hebrew. They know he knows, like, his translator probably has worked with Joseph quite some time. Generally, when you're at such a high position, you're going to have a regular on staff translator that you work with regularly. At least I'm sure he has potentially multiple translators for the different languages for the different peoples in the region. But you're going to have a regular translator for those that come from Canaan and, speak those different languages. Um, so I'm guessing the Egyptians were very much a part of, like, they understood what was happening. I'm sure Joseph spoke to Pharaoh about where he had come. If you're gonna make this guy your governor, you're gonna want to get to know him. You're probably gonna have many conversations, like sitting down, having dinner, talking about things, getting to know him. Da 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 da. This guy seems to be like your most important advisor, your wisest advisor, who is not Egyptian. So you're gonna want to get to know the guy. So Pharaoh probably understood the whole situation, and he seems extremely empathetic to Joseph's position, you know. So it's kind of cool how, you know, because where was it? Like the Egyptians were thrilled at the news because they're like, I finally told them. Like they're just like going along, like Joseph, you do what you see fit in this situation. We got your back. Yeah. When the report was heard in Pharaoh's house, Joseph was come. Yeah, it pleased Pharaoh and his servants. Like, sure, that's not the phrase Joseph's brothers have come. It was probably, maybe Joseph kept this from Pharaoh until the right moment. Maybe. Maybe now he's telling Pharaoh, because Pharaoh's got other things that, he's probably dealing with. I mean, it's not looking at the reports of who's coming from where to buy grain. I mean, oh, yes, my daily report on the receipts of those that bought the grain today. He probably doesn't care. So he might not have been aware of this whole interaction, which is very reasonable. So this might be when Pharaoh hears this. And so, which is, pretty cool. Now let's see about this one phrase about the um a father of, well, let's find that. All right. What is that? Let's see NIV. See what they say. Um, he made me father to Pharaoh. I wonder how they didn't talk about how old Pharaoh is. It could be that Pharaoh is quite young, which isn't crazy. I think there have been multiple instances of pharaohs being quite young. So maybe Joseph took on a somewhat of a fatherly role to Pharaoh, maybe due to the fact that Pharaoh was young in his age. Still, kind of like pretty level-headed of him to make Joseph like governor. He has made me a father to Pharaoh. So potentially Pharaoh is actually maybe not young now, but when, throughout this interaction, it's sort of like they formed a sort of almost like a father-son kind of relationship. Which also maybe indicates that, well, it's potential a pharaoh doesn't become a pharaoh until their father has passed. So maybe Pharaoh's father passed when he was quite young, hence why he became pharaoh at a young age. And Joseph kind of, over time, filled that fatherly role for Pharaoh. I'm spelling Pharaoh in my notes. Somehow. Anyway. Sure, more than just that was said. Sure, this, you know, because if you knew their past, which I kind of assume that they would if they have like a father-son style relationship, I'm sure more, you know, sure more than that. Or maybe that was like, maybe this was stated actually during the first time, and Pharaoh understood what Joseph was going to do about the whole situation. Because I guess contextually speaking, this this would make more sense in the previous chapters when his brothers come initially, but I think for it to show that Pharaoh was pleased and his servants, it makes more sense now to say that as a almost like a narrative storytelling. Because if you sort of mention like that Pharaoh was pleased by this, it would feel a little out of place because in a storytelling environment, you don't want to hint at or give away that Joseph is going to act benevolently towards his brothers just to have a little bit more suspense. So potentially this chronologically would make more sense earlier. Um, yeah. Mm, Anybody ever had that experience in these moments? His heart became numb, for he did not believe them. Like paralyzed, like astonished. In that moment, not willing to believe them at such a wonderful revelation. But the revelation hasn't sunk in yet. All right, I think we're good with chapter 45. All right, howdy ho. Joseph brings his family to Egypt. Darn straight he does. So Israel took his journey with all that he had and came to Beersheba and offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. And God spoke to Israel in visions of the night and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here I am. Then he said, I am God, the God of your father. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for there I will make you into a great nation. I myself will go down with you to Egypt, and I will also bring you up again, and Joseph's hand shall close your eyes. Interesting. I myself will go down with you to Egypt. Is God just not in Egypt? He's not very well. Then Jacob set out from Beersheba. The sons of Israel carried Jacob their father, their little ones, and their wives in the wagons that Pharaoh had sent to carry him. They also took their livestock and their goods, which they had gained in the land of Canaan, and came into Egypt, Jacob and all his offspring with him, his sons and his sons' sons with him, his daughters and his sons' daughters and his sons' daughters. And all his offspring he brought with him into Egypt. Now these are the names of the descendants of Israel who came into Egypt: Jacob and his sons, Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, and the sons of Reuben, Hanach, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. The sons of Simeon, Jemuel, Jamin, 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 Jamin in the name of the Lord, Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul, the son of a Canaanite woman. The sons of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Judah, Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah. But and Onan died in the land of Canaan. What? Yeah, okay. Who came into Egypt. But they did not come into Egypt. I like how there's a little like, well, they didn't. Okay. But we will not forget and Onan, as they were still sons of Judah. And the sons of Perez were Hezron and Hamul. The sons of Issachar, Tolo, Tula, Puvan, Yob, and Shimron. The sons of Zebulun, Sered, Elon, and Jahiel. Jalil. These are the sons of Leah, whom she bore to Jacob in Paddan Aram, together with his daughter Dinah. Altogether his sons and his daughters numbered 33. The sons of Gad, Ziphion, Hagi, Shuni, Esbon, Eri, Arodi, and Areli. The sons of Asher, Imnah, Ishvi, Beriah, with Sarah their sister, and the sons of Beriah, Heber, and Malkiel, Malachiel. Anyway, these are the sons of Zilpah, whom Laban gave to Leah his daughter, and these she bore to Jacob, 16 persons. The sons of Rachel, Jacob's wife, Joseph and Benjamin. And to Joseph in the land of Egypt were born Manasseh and Ephraim, whom Asenath, the daughter of Potipherah, the priest of On, bore to him. And the sons of Benjamin, Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ehai, Rosh, Muppin, and Ard. These are the sons of Rachel, who were born to Jacob, 14 persons in all. The son of Dan, Hushim. The sons of Naphtali, Jeziel, Guni, Jezer, and Shillem. These are the sons of Bilhah, whom Laban gave to Rachel his daughter, and these she bore to Jacob, 7 persons in all. All the persons belonging to Jacob who came into Egypt, who were his descendants, not including Jacob's sons, wives, were 66 persons in all. And the sons of Joseph who were born in Egypt to him were 2. All the persons of the house of Jacob who came into Egypt were 70. All right. Oh my goodness. 70 people, that's a decent number. My goodness. All right. Jacob and Joseph reunited. He had sent Judah ahead of him to Joseph to show the way before him in Goshen. They came into the land of Goshen. Then Joseph prepared his chariot and went up to meet Israel, his father, in Goshen. Or Goshen. I don't know. He presented himself to him and fell on his neck and wept on his neck a good while. Israel said to Joseph, "Now let me die, since I have seen your face and know that you are still alive." Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, "I will go up and tell Pharaoh, and I will say to him, my brothers and my father's household, who are in the land of Canaan, have come to me. And the men are shepherds, for they have been keepers of livestock, and they have brought their flocks and their herds, and have all that they have. When Pharaoh calls you and and says, "What is your occupation?" You shall say, "Your servants have been keepers of livestock from our youth even until now, both we and our fathers, in order that you may dwell in the land of Goshen. For every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians." Oh goodness. They ain't about that lifestyle apparently. Oh goodness. All right, let's takeaways. All right. Hmm, all right. I mean, it's pretty matter of fact, you know what I mean? It's not like not every chapter in the Bible is that deep. You know what I mean? Sometimes it is, but there's plenty of chapters that just, all right, this is what's happening. Okay. Not everything is that deep. The one thought I had that I have no idea on is for I don't know. It's like son of a Canaanite woman, but then like where are all their wives from? You know what I mean? Um, like it doesn't mention any of their wives, which is Sarah this. Yeah. Uh, so yeah, where's Zebulun? Where are their wives? They're not mentioned. Unimportant. Wife that's important is you know, Jacob's wives are important. Joseph's wife is important. Sort of like you'll know their generally a main character if you know what their wife name the name of their wife or wives are. That's how you know their main character. They're worthy of main characters. Interesting how Judah's wife and story kind of is in here, and that's kind of it. Despite Reuben being the firstborn, he didn't get any of that treatment. Hmm. No. Interesting. So no deception here, you know, in order that you may dwell. For every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians. Yeah, the Egyptians are farmers for the most part, apparently, or they just look down upon shepherds and keepers of livestock. And just hmm. Abomination doesn't necessarily mean they don't have shepherds in their land. It doesn't mean they don't have keepers of livestock. They're just held in probably in just low regard to farmers. Abomination. Takeaways, takeaways. Jacob's family arrives. All right. I mean, legit, you could just take the titles, and that's like, I think that's what happened. Um, Interesting that, like, again, no deception going on. Just tell them you're shepherds. Just be honest. Let's see how that plays out. I don't know. Sure. Pharaoh's been pretty reasonable up until now. I don't think he will have a problem with this. Maybe he won't like it per se, but whether he'll do something because of his dislike of the profession, we shall see. Um, all right, let's keep rolling. Let's go to chapter 47. All right. So Joseph went in and told Pharaoh, my father and my brothers, with their flocks and herds, and all that they possess, have come from the land of Canaan. They are now in the land of Goshen. And from among his brothers he took 5 men and presented them to Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to his brothers, "What is your occupation?" And they said to Pharaoh, "Your servants are shepherds, as our fathers were." They said to Pharaoh, "We have come to sojourn in the land, for there is no pasture for your servants' flocks, for the famine is severe in the land of Canaan. And now, please let your servants dwell in the land of Goshen." Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Your father and your brothers have come to you. The land of Egypt is before you. Settle your father and your brothers in the best of the land. Let them settle in the land of Goshen. And if you know any able men among them, put them in charge of my livestock." Put them in charge of them. Then Joseph brought in Jacob his father and stood him before Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Jacob, "How many are the days of the years of your life?" And Jacob said to Pharaoh, "The days of the years of my sojourning are 130 years. Few and evil have been the days of the years of my life, and they have not attained to the days of the years of the life of my fathers in the days of their sojourning." And Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out from the presence of Pharaoh. Then Joseph settled his father and his brothers and gave them a possession in the land of Egypt, in the best of the land, in the land of Ramesses, as Pharaoh had commanded. Oh, Ramesses. Interesting reference point. And Joseph provided his father, his brothers, and all his father's household with food according to the number of their descendants. Now there was no food in all the land, for the famine was very severe, so that the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan languished by reason of the famine. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, in exchange for the grain that they bought. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. And when the money was all spent in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came to Joseph and said, "Give us food. Why should we die before your eyes? For our money is gone." And Joseph answered, "Give your livestock, and I will give you food in exchange for your livestock, if your money is gone." So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and Joseph gave them food in exchange for the horses. I think that's the first time horses have made a scene in Genesis. That's interesting. Like specifically being named. The flocks, the herds, and the donkeys. He supplied them with food in exchange for all their livestock that year. And when that year was ended, they came to him the following year and said, "We will not hide from my lord that our money is all spent. The herds of livestock are my lord's. There is nothing left in the sight of my lord but our bodies and our land. Why should we die before your eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for food, and we with our land will be servants to Pharaoh, and give us seed that we may live and not die, and the land may not be desolate." So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for all the Egyptians sold their fields because the famine was severe on them. The land became Pharaoh's. As for the people, he made servants of them. Let's see what this. He removed them to the cities. Interesting. From one end of Egypt to the other. Only the land of the priests he did not buy, for the priests had a fixed allowance from Pharaoh, and lived on the allowance that Pharaoh gave them. Therefore they did not sell their land. Then Joseph said to the people, "Behold, I have this day bought you, and your land for Pharaoh. Now here is seed for you, and you shall sow the land. And at the harvest you shall give a fifth to Pharaoh, and 4/5 shall be your own, as seed for the field, and as for food for yourselves and for your households, and as food for your little ones." And they said, "You have saved our lives. May it please my lord, we will be servants to Pharaoh." So Joseph made it a statute concerning the land of Egypt, and it stands to this day, that Pharaoh should have the fifth, and land of the priests alone did not become Pharaoh's. Thus Israel settled in the land of Egypt, in the land of Goshen, and they gained possessions in it, and were fruitful and multiplied greatly. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. So the days of Jacob, the years of his life, were 147. Right, Jacob, not Joseph. I was like, whoa. Okay, so Jacob lived 17 years. Okay, yeah. Of course. And when the time drew near that Israel must die, he called his son Joseph and said to him, "If now I have found favor in your sight, put your hand under my thigh and promise to deal kindly and truly with me. Do not bury me in Egypt, but let me die in my fathers. Carry me out of Egypt and bury me in their burying place." He answered, "I will do as you have said." And he said, "Swear to me." And he swore to him. Then Israel bowed himself upon the head of his bed. All right. Whew. Stretch in there. Oh. Okay. All right, let's see what we got here. So basically that Joseph and Pharaoh were basically able to, due to their foresight of storing up their grain um for this famine, they were essentially able to buy out all the possessions or all the livestock and all the land of the people. Yeah, and the people. They hmm, talk about a power grab. Right? Oh, dang. Hmm. Wasn't there like some kind of curious um and if you know any able men among them, put them in charge of my livestock. Okay, so I think Pharaoh is basically being like, well, since this is y'all's like profession, and Joseph clearly comes from a pretty, at least intelligent and wise stock of people, you know, have them be in charge of my livestock. Let them put, let them take care of my livestock as well. Again, Pharaoh's seeming to be a fairly reasonable dude. Like, that seems like a good idea, you know, which probably is a good idea. Interesting how Jacob reveres his years as not being that great. Which I mean, he's had probably the most trouble compared to Isaac and Abraham. So from what I can tell, seems like he's had many more troubles. He's had his sons killing an entire city due to a severe transgression, but kind of like, oh geez, that happened. Then you know, his, his firstborn from his favorite wife dies, supposedly. It's like after his favorite wife dies in childbirth, it's like it's interesting he kind of views his, which I guess makes sense, but kind of a little bit of a negative Nancy. You've done well for yourself, good sir. I have many wives and children and children's children. Like, I don't know, it's not, it ain't good enough for him. Maybe he's just comparing himself to his father and his father's father. And he's like, nowhere near as good as their days and years. Hmm. Also, first instance of a land of Ramesses. Interesting. Um, again, this is a seems like a very strong power grab. And I wonder if this made it into other historical records. I mean, a 7-year famine, maybe that's not significant enough. I mean, famines and good times, bad times, they happened, you know what I mean? But I'm curious if there's any outside of the Bible, if there's any other records that have survived about this time. Any other corroborating evidence, essentially. Because it also impacted, the land of Canaan and potentially, at one point it said all the earth. So, like, Mesopotamia might have been impacted, Anatolia, maybe even down in the southern parts of Egypt, all the way down in, like, maybe as far as Ethiopia, maybe the Arabian Peninsula, you know, not that they have a lot of farmland, but who knows? Just where else, like where people have written records, if there's any other place that would record this. Hmm. Yeah, he first buys their livestock, exchange for food. All right. Also, I wonder if, like, did Joseph, you know, was there no like, did Joseph and Pharaoh not, like, kind of keep this to themselves and only, like, whatever land just, like, essentially Pharaoh owned? Let's say he owned 10% of the land at this point, or maybe 20% of the land at this point, like this is the king's land. If Pharaoh just used his land and didn't really, like, didn't give anybody else heads up, and they stored up grain, and it was like, all right, now like nobody else, like, stored up grain for this. Did they not know that the famine was coming, or maybe they just didn't believe him? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Oh, this one Hebrew interpreted this dream, and apparently we're gonna have, 7 years of famine. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, maybe they just rolled their eyes, like, sure, buddy. Oh, he interpreted a dream. Okay. Or maybe they just never passed the word on. We don't know. So can't presume too much. Only that potentially they told the people and they didn't listen, or they didn't tell the people. One is a bit more potentially them being devious, and one is them where the people just weren't willing to listen. As far as I've read thus far, I don't recall. Clearly, Pharaoh had enough farmland under his own personal control to where they were able to do this and accomplish this. All right. And again, also this is sort of like showing again, like giving out an allowance was typical. I bet now that like all the people, as for the people he made servants of them from one end of Egypt to the other, I'm sure now they are getting an allowance. Pharaoh owns everything. Pharaoh is now like basically, went from being like essentially a king with maybe, like fiefdoms to now owning all the land, you know. I take it that also means if it, you know, I don't know if they had fiefdoms. I'm just saying like clearly the people owned their land and now the pharaoh owns it. I mean, if he's pharaoh, why couldn't he just like that is my land? Well, clearly there was some legal differences there, and now legally pharaoh owns it rather than just being the protector and of the land. He has become he went from being just a monarch to an absolute monarch, essentially. That's what it kind of seems to me, at least. All right. I mean, the best I can say is like, it seems like Pharaoh has gone from not quite an absolute monarch to a more something that would resemble more of an absolute monarch. It's really the best I can give right now, you know. And what's interesting is it seems like this power grab, and it stands to this day, this power grab lasted quite some time. And it stands to this day is generally, from what I can tell, it's sort of a saying that is said when much later in the future when the story is being told back to people, and it stands to this day. Like that's where this comes from. It stands to this day. Obviously, I don't think that is happening today in 2026 in Egypt, but you know, it's weird. This what's written down is like frozen in time in a way. All right. Mhm, mhm. I feel like this, I mean, if this happened in any way, shape, or form, there must would think that there's got to be some evidence, at least of this moment, of where Pharaoh goes from having not as much control over the land and the people to having great control over the land and the people. You know, if this happened in any kind of respect, or is even some kind of utilize some kind of historical fiction, if this is some kind of historical fiction using historical events and lacing in fiction along the way about certain things, this should be about an event that did actually take place. Whether this is exactly how it took place, who knows? But you would think we would have some evidence for this if it took place, because this does seem significant in the history of Egypt, because it just seems like a turning point in what Pharaoh, the amount of power Pharaoh has in the realm. All right. Looks like it's time for a smokety smoke. Yeah, I'm gonna put a little red star here because I do want to seek out corroborating evidence for this famine and for this moment. Because even just from a historical perspective on Egypt, this seems like a significant moment for Pharaoh, for the pharaohs and pharaohs to come after this moment. Pretty sure a while back, maybe 4 years ago, maybe longer. I feel like I remember watching some documentary that found a way to line up some of Genesis and like Exodus and what have you with certain historical events. And if I recall, they did make a certain compelling argument for some, like, the at least the if you line it up right here, this actually makes sense to show some historical factuality to at least to some of what is being stated in Genesis and Exodus. Because again, I would like to think that people are not just fabricating and making stuff up, that people are actively trying to recall what legitimately took place in the past and explain that to people that come after them. Obviously, things get exaggerated or this, that, and the other um, as time goes on, of course, but it's sort of like the foundation. Like, I do believe that foundationally speaking, generally, people are more apt to try to explain, at least somewhat honestly, of what has taken place. Some people are just liars. I mean, yeah, but in the grand scheme of things, I do believe that groups of people are trying to record what has taken place. Anyway, generally speaking. Doesn't mean that their interpretation of events is as accurate as you would want it to be. Just because you have good intentions doesn't mean you have all the information at your disposal to give the most accurate account. Also, again, with there being some people who are just liars, sometimes it's not easy to know if they're also people who you're relying on testimony for you're trying to gain an account, you get, say 50 people, you're questioning them, and say five of them are liars. It's hard to know, and maybe some of that gets filtered out, but some of that might get filtered in, unfortunately, because we ain't perfect. All right, I'm gonna go get a cigarette, and I'll be right back. All right, chapter 48. We have 3 chapters left before we are done with Genesis. And we got about an hour and 15 minutes. If we get there, we get there. If we don't, we don't. I'm not gonna rush this. Yeah, let me throw my headphones back on. This also works to kind of muffle out. My walls aren't exactly soundproof, so this helps to kind of muffle out the outside world. All right. After this, Joseph was told, "Behold, your father is ill." So he took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, and it was told to Jacob, "Your son Joseph has come to you." Then Israel summoned his strength and sat up in bed. And Jacob said to Joseph, God Almighty appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me, and said to me, "Behold, I will make you fruitful and multiply you, and I will make of you a company of peoples, and will give this land to your offspring after you have an everlasting possession." An everlasting possession. I don't recall that statement being used. Give you an everlasting possession. Interesting. And now your 2 sons, who were born to you in the land of Egypt before I came to you in Egypt, are mine. Ephraim and Manasseh shall be mine, as Reuben and Simeon are. 2 sons who were born to you. Okay. And the children that you fathered after them shall be yours. They shall be called by the name of their brothers in their inheritance. All right. I see. So he's going to treat, I think he's saying he's going to treat Joseph's sons with his inheritance as if they are his own. So he's going to include the grandsons in sort of like, or just these 2 grandsons will be included in sort of the inheritance, you know, similar to that of being just sons. As for me, when I came from Paddan, to my sorrow Rachel died in the land of Canaan on the way, when there was still some distance to go to Ephrath. And I buried her there on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. When Israel saw Joseph's sons, he said, "Who are these?" Joseph said to his father, "They are my sons, whom God has given me here." And he said, "Bring them to me, please, that I may bless them." Now the eyes of Israel were dim with age, so that he could not see. So Joseph brought them near him, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said to Joseph, "I never expected to see your face, and behold, God has let me see your offspring also." Then Joseph removed them from his knees, and he bowed himself with his face to the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim in his right hand, toward Israel's left hand, and Manasseh in his left hand towards Israel's right hand, and brought them near to him. And Israel stretched out his right hand, and laid it on the head of Ephraim, who was the younger, and his left hand on the head of Manasseh, crossing his hands, for Manasseh was the firstborn. All right. And he blessed Joseph and said, "The God before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has been my shepherd all my life long to this day, the angel who has redeemed me from all evil, bless the boys, and in them let my name be carried on, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. When Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand on the head of Ephraim, it displeased him. Right. And he took his father's hand to move it to Ephraim's head, from to Manasseh's head. And Joseph said to his father, "Not this way, my father, since this one is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head." But his father refused and said, "I know, my son, I know. He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great. Nevertheless, his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his offspring shall become a multitude of nations." So he blessed them that day, saying, By you, Israel, will pronounce blessing, saying, God make you as Ephraim and as Manasseh. Thus he put Ephraim before Manasseh. Then Israel said to Joseph, Behold, I'm about to die, but God will be with you and will bring you again to the land of your fathers. Moreover, I have given to you rather than your brothers one mountain slope that I took from the hand of the Amorites with my sword and with my bow. All right. Town and district called Shechem. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. All right. Takeaways. Takeaways. Seems like the younger brother, um, in these tales is, or a younger brother, not necessarily the younger brother, but younger brothers seem to be getting just a bit more favor. And as a younger brother, of course, of course we should get one. uh, I, I'd, I'd say nothing. Look, God has been good to me. I'll just say that. And he's been good to my brothers. Let's not, don't want to leave family matters out of this. All right. All right. So, I mean, really, the gist of this chapter is Jacob blesses um Ephraim the younger before Manasseh. Yeah. All right. Very well. All right. Saying God make you as Ephraim and as Interesting that Jacob slash Israel gives that one mountain slope specifically to Joseph. It makes sense. I mean, Joseph is the most accomplished amongst his children. Let's see. All right, let's roll. All right, chapter 49. All right. Then Jacob called his sons and said, "Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you what shall happen to you in days to come. Assemble and listen, O sons of Jacob. Listen to Israel your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might, and the firstfruits of my strength, preeminent in dignity and preeminent in power. Unstable as water, you shall not have preeminence, because you went up to your father's bed. Then you defiled it. He went up to my couch." Okay. Oh yeah, didn't Reuben sleep with his concubine? Potentially in his father's bed. I'm pretty sure he slept with one of Jacob's concubines at one point. Yeah, that's probably what he's referencing. Oh goodness. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Weapons of violence are their swords. I think they're the ones that yeah. All right. I think Simeon and Levi are the ones that maybe hold on. Let me see. Like their sister was raped, and so they took vengeance on those. Right? Where is this? Yeah, Simeon, Levi. Yeah, they were the ones in chapter 34. Um, who avenged their sister's disgrace, essentially. All right. Let my soul come into their council, O my glory. Be not joined to their company. For in their anger they killed men, and in their willfulness they hamstrung oxen. Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will divide them in Jacob, and scatter them in Israel. Very interesting. So come not into their counsel. I think I read that. Come into their counsel. Come not into their counsel. O my glory, be not joined to their company. For in their anger they killed men. And in their willfulness, they hamstrung oxen. Not sure what that means. Maybe they went into other people's livestock and sabotaged their livestock, you know? Because why would you hamstrung your own oxen? That would be silly. They might have done that to other people, maybe in vengeance. Uh, Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. All right. Judah, your brothers shall praise you. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons shall bow down before you. All right, so Judah's kind of like, clearly he's more the leader of the group. He also was, him and Reuben, you know, he's upset with Reuben because, you know, preeminent in dignity and preeminent in power, but, you defiled my bed with one of my concubines. And then Judah kind of, I'm pretty sure he led the group to sell out Joseph, but it seems like he might have been redeeming himself all this time. Judah is a lion's cub. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He stooped down, he crouched as a lion and as a lioness. Who dares rouse him? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until tribute comes to him, and to him shall be the obedience of the peoples. Binding his foal to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choice vine, he has washed his garments in wine, and his vesture in the blood of grapes. The blood of grapes. I like that. His eyes are darker than wine, and his teeth whiter than milk. Interesting. So maybe he's taking care of himself. Like his teeth are nice and white. Maybe he takes care of himself. Eyes are darker than wine. Your father's sons shall bow down before you. Interesting. So maybe this is like, I don't know, because clearly Joseph right now is kind of like the one that everybody's sort of bowing down to, but maybe speaking of the future, not necessarily the past or present. All right. Zebulun shall dwell at the shore of the sea. He shall become a haven for ships, and his border shall be at Sidon, something like that. Issachar is a strong donkey, crouching between the sheepfolds. He saw that a resting place was good, and that the land was pleasant, so he bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant at forced labor. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent in the way, a viper by the path, that bites the horse's heels so that his rider falls backward. I wait for your salvation, O Lord. Interesting one. Will judge his people as one of the tribes. Okay. Raiders shall raid Gad, but he shall raid at their heels. Look, Gad, I foresee you're gonna get raided, but you'll raid them back. All right. Asher's food shall be rich, and he shall yield royal delicacies. Ooh, royal delicacies. Naphtali is a doe let loose that bears beautiful fawns. Okay, so Naphtali might be one of the best looking blokes in the group. uh, and your kids are you're gonna have really attractive kids. Joseph is a fruitful a fruitful bow or bough, maybe bow, by a spring. His branches run over the wall. The archers bitterly attacked him, shot at him, and harassed him severely. Yet his bow remained unmoved. His arms were made a guile, by the hands of the mighty one of Jacob. From there is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. By the God of your father who will help you, by the Almighty who will bless you with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that crouches beneath, blessings of the breasts and of the womb. The blessings of your father are mighty beyond the blessings of my parents. Up to the bounties of the everlasting hills, may they be on the head of Joseph, and on the brow of him who has set apart from his brothers. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf, in the morning devouring the prey, and at evening dividing the spoil. Interesting, interesting. All right. Jacob's death and burial. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel. This is what their father said to them as he blessed them, blessing each with the blessing suitable to him. Then he commanded them and said to them, I am to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite. In the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, to the east of Mamre, in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field from Ephron the Hittite to possess as a burying place. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife. And there I buried Leah. The field and the cave that is in it were bought from the Hittites. When Jacob finished commanding his sons, he drew up his feet into the bed and breathed his last and was gathered to his people. All right. Well, just Jacob blesses his sons. Yeah, I mean, very well. I think this is in reference to Reuben, which I'm almost like 90% positive. I could probably go back and look, but this is in reference to Reuben sleeping with Jacob's concubine. So he's still not happy about that. Also, is kind of probably him, like this speaks to who you are in your character. Um, all right. All right, on to the next chapter. Because, I mean, I'm not going to go through and, like, go through all of this. It's like, okay, he blesses them. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. It's not, it's like, all right, fairly well, my Lady Faye. Interesting that, like, this is sort of like 12 tribes of Israel. That's an important thing to sort of recollect. Where this is like really pronounced. This is the 12 tribes. Mm. All right, tally ho. Last chapter. And once we get through this chapter, I'll probably call it. It's a good place to sort of, you know, stop for the day. All right. Then Joseph fell on his father's face and wept over him and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father. So the physicians embalmed Israel. 40 days were required for it, for that is how many are required for embalming. And the Egyptians wept for him 70 days. And when the days of weeping for him were past, Joseph spoke to the household of Pharaoh. Now, I wonder if that means and the Egyptians. Like, what does that mean? The Egyptians that served Joseph in his household, or is that like the Egyptians of all the land? You know, because I take it Joseph had many Egyptian servants and probably, you know, he still had his station. I take it Joseph was still, you know, nothing had really changed that much. He was still the governor, from my understanding. And when the days of weeping for him were past, Joseph spoke to the household of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found favor in your eyes, please speak in the ears of Pharaoh, saying, spoke to the house. Why didn't you just speak to Pharaoh himself? You guys have like a father-son relationship. Just talk to him yourself. What are we doing? My father made me swear, saying, I'm about to die. In my tomb that I hewed out for myself in the land of Canaan, there shall you bury me. Now therefore, let me please go up and bury my father, then I will return. And Pharaoh answered, Go up and bury your father, as he made you swear. Yeah, it's very strange that they're like, Joseph spoke to the house. Maybe Pharaoh was there, but then it's like, please speak to the ears of Pharaoh. Like earlier chapters ago, it's like, you guys have like a father-son relationship. Like, what's going on? Okay. So Joseph went up to bury his father. With him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his household, and all the elders of the land of Egypt, as well as all the household of Joseph, his brothers, and his father's household. Only their children, their flocks, and their herds were left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen. It was a very great company. When they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond the Jordan, they lamented there with a very great and grievous lamentation. And he made a mourning for his fathers 7 days. When the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning of the threshing floor of Atad, they said, This is a grievous mourning by the Egyptians. Therefore the place was named Abel Mizraim. Huh. Mourning of Egypt. Interesting. It is beyond the Jordan. Thus his sons did for him as he had commanded them. For his sons carried him to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah, to the east of Mamre, which Abraham bought with the field from Ephron the Hittite to possess as a burying place. After he had buried his father, Joseph returned to Egypt with his brothers and all who had gone up with him to bury his father. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, It may be that Joseph will hate us and pay us back for all the evil that we did to him. What? So they sent a message to Joseph saying, Your father gave this command before he died. Say to Joseph, Please forgive the transgression of your brothers and their sin, because they did evil to you. Now please forgive the transgression of the servants of the God of your father. Joseph wept when they spoke to him. His brothers also came and fell down before him and said, Behold, we are your servants. But Joseph said to them, Do not fear, for am I in the place of God? Okay. As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive, as they are today. So do not fear. I will provide for you and your little ones. Thus he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. Okay, it would make, I guess it's sort of like this is kind of confirming a little bit that probably Joseph was quite consumed with his governorship of Egypt, that he gave all this land to his brothers and everything, but maybe they didn't really interact all that much up until this point. So, it could be that hadn't fully been resolved up until this point because Joseph's just busy governing a country, it's busy work. It's not like they're able to text each other. So it is interesting that maybe it kind of struck them like, wait, we haven't resolved this. What if now this is like, because our father is dead, now it's like he's okay to, feels like it would be appropriate for him to take vengeance now. Interesting, but kind of goes to show they didn't really understand Joseph all that well. And he did all this kindness to them just to now take vengeance on them? Okay, I don't know, that seems wild to me. Gives them the best plots of land, all this stuff, and then like now he's going to, you know, it may be that Joseph will hate us. I don't know. A little far-fetched, but glad they're finally clearing the air officially and finally. So Joseph remained in Egypt, he and his father's house. Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children of the third generation. The children also of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were counted as Joseph's own. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am about to die, but God will visit you and bring you up out of this land to the land that he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Then Joseph made the sons of Israel swear, saying, God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from here. So Joseph died, being 110 years old. They embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. First mention of coffins in the Bible, as far as I recollect. It's kind of dawning on me how I think me doing these sort of 4-hour study sessions and going through multiple chapters at a time is probably a fortuitous way of reading these books. That way, really, like, remembering things like, what Ruben did, this, that, and the other. If I just like did like a chapter a day, for instance, when Ruben, um, I don't know if I even wrote it down. Um, sleeps with Jacob's concubine. I might not have remembered that if that was like 2 weeks later rather than just like 4 days ago or 5 days ago. So look, I got time. I'm not saying this is how you should. Who has 4 hours to dedicate to reading the Bible a day? I do, but not many people do. So, I mean, unless you're, actually going to, school to become like a priest or something, obviously, or pastors, obviously, but outside of that, it would not be common to have that kind of time at your disposal. Mhm. All right, takeaways from this chapter. I guess we can just put Joseph and his brothers um how do I put this? Makeup. Um make I guess like a complete and final peace between each other. Also maybe because Joseph has shown he's very capable of deception. There could be something like next thing you know, Joseph what kills some of them and takes their possessions and it's like this is mine now. Thank you for taking care of it for me. I don't know. Like what? Who knows? Who knows? Maybe this could have been a little out of place, but I don't know. Um. Oh, the other thing, it's like I don't know. It's strange that Joseph and Pharaoh aren't communicating directly here. Though maybe Pharaoh was overly busy in this moment, and so he's just like, just pass this on, you know. So it's not like, oh my gosh, this completely contradicts what was said before. It's just interesting. It's like, okay, let's look at this in different ways. It's like, okay, you know, if now I have found favor in your eyes, my son. It could just be, um, how do we put it? Formalities, just being proper. Basically, as long as everything has been taken care of. You know what I mean? If there's something I have not taken care of, please bring it to my attention. You know, could just be a formal way of stating that. All right. I wonder if that tomb has ever been located, where supposedly Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are laid to rest. Wonder if you'd even be able to tell. Even if you did find the tomb, would you be able to tell? Because, like, how many years have passed? How many other people might have used it as a tomb or other things, you know? Or even, who knows, man? Who knows? Long time ago. Long time ago. I once again didn't eat anything before this stream. I need to get on that. Oh, I have terrible habits with eating. I eat cigarettes for breakfast. What's going on here? Anyway, all right. Other takeaways. Um, guess we'll put Joseph dies and is put into a coffin in Egypt. Now, I'm pretty sure I did watch some kind of documentary that went over some evidence of finding the tomb of Joseph. Um, again, I've seen again. I should go back and find that. Um, supposedly the coffin had like when they looked at it had like many colors in like sort of like paying homage to like the many colored cloak, and he had like different colored hair, and he looked different, and it was just in a different style that didn't really fit fully. Like it was the Egyptian style, but it was distinct in specific ways that made it stand out. And I wonder again, because after this, we're going to be kind of going through the next process in all this is me to do a review on the book of Genesis. My review, along with like adding more now that we've read through it, now get a little deeper, you know, get more to the nitty gritty, you know what I'm saying? Where was this? Hold on. We'll just do. Yeah, I think the next step is just me then looking for, what other experts have done as far as seeking after evidence to support the validity of Genesis. You know, so that really is like, you know, yeah, like what evidence is there to show how accurate or inaccurate Genesis is, and what parts seem to be more accurate or more evidence for, maybe we'll do like a little evidence meter or a little like, potential for truth. How accurate is this potentially, you know? So we'll just have to see on that. We'll start tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow at noon. Probably, roll till 4 o'clock again, Central Standard Time. So yeah, I think this is a good place for me to stop, and we'll get a fresh start tomorrow on all that snazzy jazz. All right. Okie dokie. And also, I'll feel more inclined to give, as far as certain sections, maybe a bit more in depth um, of my own personal perspectives on this. Um, anyway, hope you guys have a good day, and I'll catch you guys later.